What was your first reaction when you landed to Islamabad?
My
Because you heard a lot of bad thing about Pakistan, but when you landed,
it was really funny. It was actually funny. I landed in at the airport, and I get off the plane, and because we had two Pakistani American doctors with us, the biggest part of the team had arrived the day before.
Okay.
And we still had some supplies to arrange and get on. So we stayed with the last two doctors. So it was just the four of us, not the big group that they'd already come. So the plan, we got in like 2, 3 in the morning. The plan was at first light to take off in the helicopter from Chakala Air Base and go into the disaster zone. So we had about 5 hours to get some rest and get something to eat. So what happened was I landed, I get off the plane, and there's all these journalists and there's people clapping for us like we've done something great. And I'm thinking we haven't done anything yet, but they're appreciating that we've come. They see a couple Goras because I had another guy with me that I brought. And so all these Goras that I worked with in other disasters like 9/11, Hurricane Dre, they said, don't go to Pakistan. You're going into the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
You're going into a place, and even if you help those people, their children are going to grow up to bomb us. So why are you going there? And I said, well, you know what? I bet you that this is not the case. I said, we'll bet on this, right? And so I came, and we get off the plane, and Eitizaz Essen,
yeah.
he's standing there. I didn't know who he was. I never met him. I didn't know him.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about Pakistan. But somebody said to me, this is a really big guy that is there standing. And I went up to him, and he says to me, he gives me a big hug, and he says, hi, Todd, I'm Eitizaz Essen. We've been expecting you. We're looking forward to you. We're going to take you home, and my wife Bushra and we have a nice meal for you and enjoy. So I get in the car with him, and we're going down the road, and he says, we were going to his place in F6. He says, this is a parliament, this is Supreme Court, and this is the President's House. And he says, and I'm a senator, and I'm former interior minister. And I said, oh, wow, so you are a big guy, because I didn't know, right? And he says, yes, well, I'm doing law, I have a law firm. And I said, so you're such a big guy in government, so you must be friends with President Musharraf. And he goes, I will do anything to get that guy out of power. I can't stand him. I don't like him. So then he started telling me some of his disagreements and problems with President Musharraf. So, and I always liked Musharraf, actually. Because I had read about him just before coming on the earthquake. I tried to catch up on whatever I could.
Right.
Who is the leader? What is going on in Pakistan? So even though I knew nothing about Pakistan, once I'm going to a country, I try to
you have been gathering basic information.
Read about it and find out. So that's how I learned about Musharraf, and then he was against him and politically, and then I started learning all these things. So we went to his house, he had a wonderful meal, Pakistani food. It was my first time having Pakistani food, and I was like, man, I'm 39 years old. I never had this kind of food in my life. This is unbelievable. And I said to Eitizaz Essen, I said, now I understand why the British came here and never want to leave, because of this food. So we made little jokes and we had a good time. But then first thing in the morning, they took us to Chakala Air Base. I got in the helicopter. We went in a U.S. Chinook air helicopter. We landed there, and before we landed, I started looking. First, it looks like this beautiful mountains, and then you get closer and you see all these homes flattened, destroyed, and all this stuff, and landslides, huge landslides and things you're seeing. So we land and we get there, and then I could smell the gangrene and the infection. So many people were lined up to get put on the helicopter to take back to the hospital, people who were in critical condition or losing limbs. So that put me right into the middle of it. And from that point, it was all for next 3 weeks, just organizing medicine, getting the doctors what they need, trying to organize all these supplies that had come in and were all over the place, get whatever I could to keep the doctors comfortable, if they needed blankets, if they needed this or that. The Army was there with us. They had some fuel for the generators. They would give us chapati in the morning, these kinds of things. So we worked very closely with the Army, Brigadier Shahryar Khan, 10th Brigade, and Brigadier Amjad Shabir of 212 Brigade Lahore. So we became friends and like brothers working together, and we would send the helicopters and pick up people and bring them back to our little tent hospital that was there in Gary Dupata. So this went on, and more doctors would come and go. And then the doctor said to me, would you please stay? because everybody was supposed to go back in 2 weeks, but they said we're sending new doctors. So would you be interested in, staying here for some months? And I thought to myself, why not? If that's where the need is and this is where I'm helpful, then so be it. I'm happy to stay. So I agreed to stay as long as they needed me for. And so I was there for a good 6 months before that emergency and winter operation wrapped up. By that time, some friends in the Pakistan Army said, hey, you should start your own organization because others are leaving and we need people to stay. This is going to be a long time. So many friends that I had met in the Army helped me register and helped me get started. And
so basically at that point of time, you registered this CDRS, right?
Yes.
So basically I wanted to show to my audience, this is the organization basically, CDRS. ये इसका बनता है जनाब comprehensive disaster response services. So we'll talk about it, like what your organization is doing right now and what you have done back in 2005.